All right, we have horrible lighting, so we're going to start with that and try to make that a little bit better. But good morning, everybody. Welcome in to a kind of impromptu Jason Vegas show, and I'm going to be right back in just 1 second. All right. Hopefully that helped our lighting situation a little bit. And this is what happens when you leave your kids home with dad. You see these videos about that. And my kids are home. They're out in the backyard. I'm watching them play it right now. But anyways, guys, again, welcome in. There's only a couple of you here at the moment, but this does record, so you'll be able to watch it later. Just wanted to share some thoughts on yesterday's game and also talk about the story of how everything happened with our 27-game regular season winning streak that came to an end yesterday with the loss to Pittsburgh. First and foremost, this goes back a long way. What started all of this? And only a few of us were along for the whole ride. So 2013, the season we won the Fiesta Bowl. We went undefeated in conference, won the conference championship. Blake Bortles was the MVP of that team. And Blake decides to leave at the end of the season, which I think a lot of people were kind of back and forth about. And when he decided to leave, it, of course, kind of left us without a starting quarterback that we trusted. And the following season, we start the year with Pete DeNovo, unknown quarterback that a lot of us didn't know a whole lot about when he started the season. And we go to Ireland, and we lose a game to Penn State where we started the first half with a quarterback that probably shouldn't have been the starter by the time Coach O'Leary put Justin Holman in. It was too late, and we lose that game. But again, Holman gets hot. Brashad Perriman was a big receiver on that team. Just a lot of those guys, man, they came together, and they made it happen to get us another conference championship, and then to the bowl game over in St. Pete where we had a subpar performance, I'd say, and lost to North Carolina State. And that led us into the 2015 season, where I feel like something happened. I've watched some of, I know he's not the most popular guy at UCF, but Destroying, Donald Delahaye, who was an insider on that team, was one of the kickers. And, he's expressed that many of the players on that team were just done with George O'Leary. And the thing about O'Leary is he was old school. He's not new school. He's not what we have now. He's old school. He had his ways, and some people agreed with those ways and some didn't. Well, it sounded like most of the team didn't agree with that. So they start the season with a horrible loss, then go to Stanford and get drubbed, and Justin Holman gets hurt. Then they're throwing in quarterbacks that, we were just hoping and praying that any of them could do anything. The losses counted up, got worse. We're getting blown away, absolutely blown away every Saturday. It's really bad. I'm going to turn down my NFL over here real quick. It is NFL Sunday. Gearing up for another Dolphins loss today to the Cowboys, so should be fun. So, picking up where I left off. So the losses get worse and worse. The end of the season comes. We lose to the USF, something like, I don't even remember. Was it like 41-3? I don't remember. It was bad, and it was a home game. And the season ended with nobody in the stands. And the program was in a very, very bad state at that time. There was nothing to brag about. But then, lo and behold, We get Danny White as our athletic director. He brings in Scott Frost, who brings a completely new swagger, attitude, and everything to this UCF family that desperately was needing a makeover. Going back to when they did fire O'Leary in the middle of that season, the players celebrated, and they were more than happy to play for Danny Barrett as the interim coach. Pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy to hear the players celebrate it, but they did. And if you ever go watch Destroying, you can see him talk about that in one of his YouTube posts from back a while ago, long time ago. So at that point, Frost brings this whole new attitude. Everything's different. And we even found a few players that O'Leary had that he wasn't really using. One of those guys, who I remember noticing him right away, the first game, South Carolina State, number 18, Shaquem Griffin, who is now a legend. He's a legend at UCF now. So, it's not like he's a stranger, but these are some of those guys that stuck through a lot of hard stuff. Jordan Akins was one of those guys. And there's this other guy that he's not playing today, but Traquan Smith was a stud on that team that went 0-12. He was the guy that when Justin Holman was scrambling everywhere for his life because we didn't have a good offensive line that season, he was the guy making the plays, making miraculous catches, ended up on SportsCenter top 10 a couple of times. Traquan Smith was a guy that stuck with the program when it wasn't looking so good, and it may have been easy for someone like him who was a superstar to transfer. So these guys stayed with the program. 2016 season comes around. A lot of talk about what's going to happen. This new offense we're running, it's high tempo. The defense is supposed to be faster, better, stronger. And we get introduced to a whole group of new players. The third game of the season. Is it third game? Yeah, third game of the season. We play Maryland. And we trot out this freshman that nobody even really paid attention to. He's this Hawaiian kid, Mackenzie Milton. He comes out, fumbles the ball, I think, on the first, maybe his first play. It was really early in the game. Fumbled the ball. He ends up scoring a touchdown on a play where he fumbles the ball later. He goes to hand the ball off, drops it, goes into the end zone for like a 3-yard touchdown run. We end up getting to overtime against this Maryland team, and we just fell short. They end up winning the game after stopping us on defense, and then they score on a rushing touchdown. Celebrated like they won the Super Bowl, which is funny because we were just us then. In that season, we go 6-6 and get to the Cure Bowl at the Citrus Bowl, and Arkansas State ends up laying a whooping on us. And as a fan base, I think we were all in a place where we thought, man, like the Scott Frost offense, it was good for the first 8 games of the season. But as the season wore on, we were playing some really close football games that we weren't able to win. The last of which was a game that I remember at USF where Quentin Flowers went off. They had that running back too that went off on us. What was his name? He plays in the NFL now. No, I'm kidding. I totally know. It's Marlon Mack. So we got the score ran up on us over there at USF, and so then that's when we went to the Cure Bowl. We lost the Cure Bowl. So I think as a fan base at that point in time, we were thinking about the Scott Frost offense like, man, it worked real good for 7 games, but now where are we? What are we going to do? How's it going to get better? Do we keep Mackenzie Milton as the quarterback because he really started overthrowing a lot of receivers, throwing a lot of bad interceptions, and doing a lot of things that we didn't like. So The sun rises, sun sets on a new season. Sun rises. I guess I should have left it there. This is all off the cuff, guys. I'm not reading anything. I'm actually watching NFL Countdown, so just talking. Anyways, 2017 season comes around. McKenzie Milton is going to start, and I thought the team would go 8-4. You can go back in my Jason Vegas archives, and I thought we were going 8-4. That would have been an amazing season. I looked at the schedule and I said, man, we had Maryland again, and it was on the road. I didn't think we'd win that one. We had to go to Navy and face a triple option. I didn't think we'd win that one, looking at that on the schedule. Temple was always a tough game for us, is still always a tough game for us, right? So I didn't think we'd be able to beat Temple, and I think we also had Georgia Tech on the schedule, which was triple option, and just didn't feel like we'd win that one. So 8-4 that season is what I was thinking. We'd almost run the table in conference, basically, is what I was thinking. And we'd have a shot at defeating USF, that was the favorites that season. USF was something crazy, like 3-1 to win the East, and maybe like 2-1 to win the whole thing. So we go through the season. First game, play against Florida International. We blow them away, 61-17. Hurricane Irma comes. Georgia Tech game gets washed away. Memphis game gets moved to a few weeks later. Canceled the main game to get that one played. But McKenzie comes out. He's a completely new, different quarterback. You can see that he's had a year in the system. Just looks like Brett Favre out there. I mean, he was wheeling and dealing, rocking and rolling, just looking like a Heisman candidate. Of course, nobody really noticed that season. He has an amazing first half of the season. We're blowing people away. We go on the road and blow Maryland away, which I still picked against us in that game. I thought we would lose by a couple points. We play Memphis at home. The whole panel of College Game Day picks Memphis, and we blow them out 40-13, and the 13 is only because they scored in the last play of the game to make it look a little better than 6. Defensively, we were looking amazing. Shaquem Griffin was all over the place. Man, we just fell in love with that guy. I still to this day follow everything he does up in Seattle. He's amazing. So we're going through the season. We get to 5-0. We play at Navy, face that vaunted triple option that I was afraid of, but thought we had enough offense to get the job done, and we ended up having some big plays. Brandon Moore ends up laying out one of their guys on the triple option, and forces a fumble that ends up winning the game for us. Otis Anderson goes in for a touchdown with about 3 minutes to go to put us up 10. And we get that. That was a huge win for us. Go down the stretch. We're still just blowing everybody out. We go to Temple. We blow them out with 5 turnovers. And to cap off the year, these are 2 of the most legendary games I think ever played in UCF history. They may not ever get as much credit as being like big games, like maybe the Cincinnati game was in 2018. But the USF game, man, Quentin Flowers comes in. USF is 10-1, and the College Football Committee wants to make sure that they are unranked at 10-1. So, everybody that wants to point to a soft schedule in 2017, they completely forget about that USF team we played was loaded and ready to win some games the entire season. The only loss they had was to De'Aaron King in Houston, when Houston made like an 80-yard drive in 5 plays to beat them at the last second. So we play USF tooth and nail. We jump out. I think we're up like, hey, Marlon Mack's playing today. Speaking of Marlon Mack, a couple minutes ago. Just was noticing he is active with his injury. Fantasy alert. Anyways, he's on my team. So we play them tooth and nail. We jump out to a 21-7 lead, I think it was. Um, after trailing 7-0, we make some plays. Mike Hughes ends up getting an interception at the end of the half that puts us in 21-20. Um, Griffin's out there with those guys, and he's just trying to keep them going. Like, you could tell that a lot had worn on this team by that point. They had been through the hurricane, which ate up their bye week. So they spend their bye week basically doing things in the community. These kids went through so much. They were in the community doing all this work, worried about their families, where their families were at. Really, these guys actually went through a lot of real life stuff, but remained undefeated on the field. So we play the second half of the USF game. USF actually gets an interception of Milton in the second half of that game. And they catch up to us. They go ahead. Our guys never quit. And they didn't quit that entire season. They pull that game out on a Mike Hughes kick return with a minute to go. That it took me like a minute or two to get up off my knees and realize like what had just happened. I'm in the stadium down on my knees under under where the bleachers are at. I'm like, oh my God, did he really just take that back to the house and win this game for us? We ended up forcing a fumble to end that game. But then we got to play Memphis again. And Memphis, they came in 11-1. Who was the one? As always, because we don't lose to Memphis, right? USF game should have been a win against a ranked team. The Memphis game for sure should have been, I'd say, 2 top 10 teams in the country, but they always held us down, saying our schedule was soft and whatever, but it's only soft because you don't rank our teams in our American conference because there's a line drawn. We're not the Power 5, so we don't really get to be ranked. And that's fine. I mean, whatever. Anyways, Riley Ferguson, quarterback of Memphis, comes in, has himself a big day with this other guy that plays for the Bears now, wide receiver. Y'all can tell me his name. It's been a while. Anyways, so Memphis comes in with a bunch of talent. They still had Henderson then. Henderson was a young kid on that team. Ends up running for a couple touchdowns against us, making us look bad on defense a few times. Again, you could tell our team was worn down. They had played every week for, I think it ended up being 11 straight weeks at that point, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to have 1 or 2 buys in the 12-game season now, and they didn't really have that. So including USF was on a short week. That was a Friday game, actually. So that game comes down to the wire. We end up having Memphis. Memphis had a chance to make sure that none of this ever happened. They had a couple chances to make sure that we're not talking about this today. The 27 games and all that stuff. None of us are talking about any kind of win streak at all right now, today. If Riley Patterson makes a field goal against us at the end of regulation of that game. We blocked the first one, but they delayed the game. So they get another shot from 51 yards, and he pulls it left. So we were fortunate to get out of there and get to overtime. In overtime, AK and Otis both have touchdowns running the ball. And Trey Neal ends up getting the pick to send us to the Peach Bowl. And what are we thinking at that point? I mean, because right there during that game, it said that Scott Frost is leaving. So fan base for the entire 3.5, 4 weeks between the games is now like, so we bring in this Scott Frost regime. Frost actually has one good season with us and leaves. So Where does this leave us? Which direction are we going? And right there toward the end of that is when Josh Heupel gets announced. And I don't know about the rest of everybody, but I started watching film on Missouri, their offense. And his last season at Missouri, they went into Florida and they beat the crap out of the Gators. Bad. I mean, bad. I think there was, I don't know. They put up at least 42 on the Gators. It could have been worse than that, but it was at least 42 that I remember. And I want to say that was Florida's homecoming also. So Josh Heupel is the guy. And I think the skepticism any of us had about Heupel coming in is, how similar is it going to be? How is he going to gel with our kids who are, still young? Still young. We had Mackenzie was only going to his junior season last year. AK as well. And Traquan ends up leaving at the end of that. I think the coaching change may or may not had something to do with it. It may or may not. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. We were losing Shaquem Griffin on defense, losing a lot of our defensive leaders actually. Jaquan Burkett, Mike Hughes as well. So it really left some spots. Jemias Pittman, I didn't forget you. So anyways, we get to where Heupel's in and last season starts. So 2018 season, everybody's doubting us. I think we got preseason ranked, but it was like 21, which for a team that went undefeated and didn't lose a whole lot, we lost some NFL guys for sure. We did lose Jordan Akins off the offense. I don't think the offense really lost much going into last season, though. And of course, we had a 12th year senior, Michael Kalubiali, that just stepped right in. It was perfect. Anyways, so last season starts, 2018, and we jump right out of the blocks. We look like we've missed nothing. No doubter games from the very beginning. We have a couple of struggles along the season. First half starts, we start real slow at Memphis, but end up pulling that game out at the last second. The let's go Bone moment. I think that's one of the most legendary moments in UCF history. And again, Memphis had us on the ropes. Memphis, even though we beat them 4 times during this streak, Memphis had more shots than anybody to dethrone us. And they couldn't do it. And, a lot of that falls on their kicker missing kicks because he missed another one in the conference championship. They could have done it too. But yeah, we end up playing against Cincinnati at home late in the season. That ends up being the primetime game on ABC with Fowler and Herbstreit, and all those guys come for college game day at UCF, which was awesome. It was awesome. We may never host college game day again. Like, that might not happen. There are P5 schools they don't go to at all. Iowa State just got them for the first time this year. But anyways, the Cincinnati team comes in, a lot of hype around them. They had only had 1 loss last season before they played us. And we trounce them. We start slow. Mackenzie gets sacked in the end zone and fumbles, and they recover for a touchdown. But we really trounced them, 38-13. There was never a doubt. And, that's one thing about this team, man. They just don't stop coming. They don't quit. There's not an inch of quit in any of those guys. It's why we love them, I think, more than anything. These guys that are on Twitter feeds, JJ, Otis, AK, all the guys that that I followed for a long time now. They don't quit. They're personable dudes. We enjoy each and every one of them. Every day they literally brighten the world, and we'll be a sadder fan base when those guys leave, because I think the foundation that they have built is absolutely amazing. But picking up, all right. So we get the win over Cincinnati. We go to USF, and in the second quarter of that game, I am driving back from Naples, Thanksgiving with the family, and the sound of Mark Daniels' voice told the entire story, what happened to Mackenzie. I didn't even need to come home and watch the replay. I did, but I didn't need to. Mackenzie goes down, and here's the thing about Mackenzie. Mackenzie was the face of the fight against the CFP. He's the guy that literally never gave an inch, never quit. Even when we booed him off the field, I didn't boo him, but I heard the boos too over there in the Cure Bowl. He got booed off the field. Justin Holman comes in and gets like a hero's welcome, I don't think Mackenzie will ever forget that either. This was a kid that was booed off the field his freshman year because a lot of us thought the Scott Frost offense was done after that first year. Like the team just wasn't with it. Anyways, go to USF. Mackenzie gets injured, and we end up winning the game. But our family, our UCF family, was injured almost as much as him emotionally, I'd say. It was hard. It was a hard thing to be like, dang, all right, well, now our quarterback's gone. DJ Mack comes in. This is another guy we love, another guy we all follow on the field and off. New dad, DJ Mack, just comes in and does everything in his power to win that conference championship game. And we were losing by 17 points. Again, Memphis had every chance. Up 38-21 at halftime. DJ comes out, leads 5 touchdown drives in a row. Makes that dime drop to Otis, one of the prettiest passes I've still ever seen. Just over an outstretched defender that was like, no. Otis scores, and these were the moments. These kids, and this is what I'm saying. We're not talking about this without these kids rising up to so many moments, like yesterday. So let's fast forward. We all know we lost LSU, and we don't even want to get into that. All right, so that was the end of that streak, the overall streak. The regular season streak ends yesterday. I think I made a tweet yesterday saying that we got outcoached, and this is what I mean. And I have an example of the moment I realized, holy, they're on to us. Now, I watch our games. I watched enough of our games to call our plays before they happen. I can see what's going to be open in the defense, and I pick it apart. And probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, we do what I say, and we score. Or hit a big play. So before the play, Jacob Harris in the slot. I believe Gabe is out on the line. And Gabe runs in. Jacob runs out. Just the way I called it, I knew Jacob was going to go to the corner. And we've already scored on this play a couple times. I think we scored on this play the other direction against FAU. Jacob comes out. Narduzzi has them, or his staff, whoever called their defensive, they blitz around the corner. And when Dylan makes the fake, he just goes to put the ball up in the corner because he thought that was the guy. That was the guy supposed to cover Jacob, but it wasn't. Gabe's defender comes off of him, steps right in front, and it was defended to complete perfection. Pitt's coaches did an amazing job early in the game yesterday. Got them a big enough lead to where, they weren't out of the game when we made our run. But our kids at halftime yesterday, I think as fans, we were talking to each other. Hey, been here before. These kids are going to come back. These kids are resilient. They don't quit for nothing. And we were right. Sure enough, we come out, stop them on defense. Dylan takes us right down, and we score. Stop them again. And who else? And I'm saying it. I'm like, man, they haven't kicked it to Otis yet. They didn't kick it to him all day. They did a good job keeping it away, keeping him bottled up on returns. And they kick it to him and gave him room. He makes a guy miss. He gets outside. Gets about to midfield. It looks like it's over. But don't underestimate Otis. He doesn't quit, and he goes to the house. So, from there, we all know what happened. You want your bathing suit on? My kids love the water. Anyway, so I'm about to go be a dad. But all I want to tell y'all is, it may be over now, but this is how it happened. These guys never quit when they could have quit. It all started with Blake Bortles leaving. It was like a ball rolling in this direction. I think if he never left, we not only win the conference in 2014, we probably go to another big bowl game, because the games we lost against Missouri and Penn State, those losses were quarterback based. So I think we would have went to a bigger bowl. O'Leary would have still been around. Holman would have had another year to kind of chill and learn the offense better, and maybe we don't go 0-12. So that's why I'm always telling y'all 0-12 was a blessing. None of this would have ever happened without it. So everybody, I'm at 32 minutes. So everybody have a blessed Sunday. Good luck to your Sunday teams. Like I said, Dolphins fan, we're going to probably get killed today, but I'll be watching. Looks like the Jets are going to get killed today too against the Patriots. So my wife's Raiders play also today. So anyways, I got to go take my kids swimming. Everybody have a great, blessed Sunday.